Have you ever been frozen by someone's silence? A partner, friend, or parent who suddenly withdraws, leaving you questioning your worth? In this video, we explore how narcissists use silence not as peace, but as power. Through the lens of Carl Jung's psychology, we'll uncover how this quiet cruelty reveals the shadow, the mask, and the unspoken battle for control. Discover why their silence hurts so deeply, what it says about their inner emptiness, and how you can reclaim your voice in peace. Let's decode the hidden language of silence and take your power back. When someone with narcissistic tendencies shuts down communication, the silence is not simply absence, it is a message, a weapon, a terrain of struggle. In the quiet of an unanswered call, the blankness of a text ignored, the withdrawal of shared glance, something deeper is at work. It is more than hurt feelings. It is power being exercised. And when we turn to Carl Jung's psychological architecture, the persona, the shadow, the self, we begin to see how this silence maps not just relational cruelty, but psychic structure. Consider the narcissist's silence, the abrupt end to dialogue, the refusal to clarify, the indefinite pause that forces the other to guess, to wait, to beg. Many who experience this describe confusion, self-doubt, desperation. They replay conversations, search for missteps, recalibrate behavior. This is exactly the aim. According to modern relational psychology commentary, narcissists weaponize silence to destabilize, control, and avoid accountability. The silence becomes an invisible whip. No words, but its trail leaves marks nonetheless. Now let us situate this in a Jungian landscape. Jung posited that we all wear masks, the persona, to the world, hiding parts of ourselves in the shadow, unconscious, that we refuse to acknowledge. In a healthy psyche, there is a movement toward individuation, toward a self that integrates light and dark, known and unknown. A narcissist, however, often becomes rigidly identified with a grandiose persona and avoids the shadow, thereby creating an internal collapse. This internal dynamic has relational expression. When the narcissist goes silent, the act functions as an enactment of its psychic avoidance. Imagine a person who expects admiration, who thrives on reactions, who requires constant supply of attention and affirmation. When that supply wavers, or when they fear exposure of their own vulnerability, they seize the silence. Silence becomes the safest fortress. They avoid confronting their inner emptiness by manipulating the outer world, the beloved, the partner, the friend. The withdrawal of words says, "You are meaningless unless you serve me. You are responsible for repairing me. You are powerless without my voice." In that moment, their persona remains unassailed, their shadow unopened, the true self submerged. Jung might say that the narcissist projects their disowned elements outward, the shame, the weakness, the unacknowledged fear. The partner becomes the container of projected shadow, and when the narcissist withdraws communication, the partner is left dissolving into the void of projection. The silence says, "I will not engage because I refuse to deal with the part of me you reflect. And you must complete me. You must fill the gap." Meanwhile, I retreat into the fortress of no reaction. This tactic shifts the power dynamic. The silent narcissist holds all cards by refusing to play. You chase, you explain, you grope for meaning. They sit back, and you feel small. You feel unseen. You feel on the edge. Because silence amplifies absence. Absence becomes presence. The void becomes charged with expectation, guilt, question, dread. In relational abuse discussions, this is called the silent treatment or emotional withdrawal. but in Jungian terms, it is much more. It is an enactment of psychic negation. Silence as weapon serves multiple functions: to punish, to avoid accountability, to control, to rewrite narrative. The narcissist knows that the partner fears abandonment or conflict, so they withhold communication. That fear becomes the leash. They know what silence does. It unsettles. As one article noted, by refusing to talk, the narcissist creates a dynamic where the victim feels they must beg for resolution or forgiveness. Silence can also act as deflection. They avoid the threatened shadow revelation by refusing to engage at all. That is, rather than risking exposure or owning fault, they vanish. The silence traps the other in uncertainty, while they protect the self behind the mask. Next, we observe how silence interacts with the mirror effect. Jung wrote that people in our lives reflect parts of ourselves we are unwilling to face. When the narcissist silences, the mirror is removed, or rather the reflecting surface remains, but the light is turned off. Silence used to hold power over me. Now I hold silence as my internal space of sovereignty. In turning the silence inward, you reclaim the narrative. You no longer wait for them. You no longer let your self-worth hinge on their voice. The game ends not when they resume talking, but when you stop reacting. The silent weapon loses its meaning when it no longer elicits your response. And Jung reminds us, healing begins when you look within, not when you fix the external. Let us examine particular dimensions of the silence weapon. 1. Control and punishment. When the narcissist uses silence, it is often punitive. They are angry that you ask something, set a boundary, challenge their mask. Rather than engage, they withdraw. The silence says, "You cross the line. I will go to the basement of no response. Your anxiety will serve as my message." This is classic manipulation. 2. Avoidance of vulnerability and accountability. By going silent, the narcissist evades conversation about their behavior. They are unwilling to reflect, integrate, or be seen as flawed, their shadow. Silence serves as escape. As one writer put it, they use silence to avoid facing their own flaws. For Jung, this is the avoidance of shadow integration. The narcissist remains in the persona, does not acknowledge the darkness. 3. Power shift and dependency. Silence shifts power. The other becomes the chaser, the one in motion, the one trying to restore contact. The narcissist remains still, unmoved. The dynamic fosters dependency. The other invests energy to regain communication. The silence becomes a lever. Your efforts feed them. 4. Reality distortion and self-doubt. Because the message is unclear, the recipient begins to question themselves. What did I do wrong? Something wrong with me? Am I responsible for this silence? This confusion undermines self-trust. The narcissist gains control not through aggressive speech, but through absence. As one article described, your brain perceives it as a threat. This triggers your body's stress response. Here emerges the physical cost of relational silence. 5. Recruitment of the mirror, damage to the mirror. When the narcissist silences, they break the reflecting function. You no longer see yourself mirrored. You only see your reflection in anticipation, in waiting, in anxiety. Jung's mirror effect becomes warped. The partner has to carry the mirror. The narcissist refuses to see. The result, a one-sided reflection, a fractured relationship with self. 6. The opposite silence, the other's inner silence. Here the narrative pivots. When the partner realizes what is occurring, they can choose a different silence, not the silence of victimhood, but the silence of internal integrity. This silence says, I will not dance to your rhythm anymore. I will not chase. I will observe. In that silent space, I find myself again. For Jung, the internal silence is not emptiness, but presence. It is the field in which the self can emerge behind the persona and shadow. 7. Resurrection of the self via boundaries. By refusing to engage in the narcissist game, the partner reestablishes their boundaries. They reclaim their agency. The silence no longer signals the narcissist's dominion, but the partner's autonomy. The partner steps out of the manipulation loop and into individuation. 8. The transformative potential of silence. Ironically, the very silence used to oppress can become a catalyst for growth. In the stillness, one hears the inner voice, the self beyond the mask and the wound. Jung reminds us that in allowing contradiction, tension, non-reaction, something new emerges. The silence becomes the fertile ground for the self's emergence. As we navigate this terrain, a few reflective signposts help. Notice when silence is not simply non-speaking, but a withdrawal of connection, attention, affirmation. Ask, who benefits from this silence? Who is disempowered? Recognize, the silence is not neutral, it is relational. Recognize, your response to silence gives it power. When you chase, plead, explain, the game continues. Choose, internal silence is not giving up. It is reclaiming presence, observing rather than reacting. Shift, from waiting for their voice to listening to your own. From trying to fix the silence to understanding what it revealed about you in the dynamic. Heal, embrace your shadow, integrate your wounded parts, and cease being the mirror for someone else's projections. The partner sees their own fear, their own need, their own struggle, but in the absence of the narcissist's engagement, the partner must sit with that reflection alone. That is terrifying for both parties. For the narcissist, because the reflection might awaken them. For the partner, because they feel abandoned. The partner might feel compelled to fill the silence, to ask, to explain, to plead. These are the voices of the seeking child and the wounded self. But when one remains silent, one becomes the observer. And Jung emphasized the power of internal silence, the silence within the psyche, the non-reaction, the inner space of presence. In Judah's words, adapting, when you stop reacting, you change the rules of engagement. In this way, the partner's adoption of internal silence, boundary, non-response, is not the same as the narcissist's weaponized silence. It becomes a tool of individuation rather than manipulation. We can see the progression. First, the narcissist uses silence to freeze the emotional environment, to create a power vacuum. Then the partner's reaction, often frantic, fills the vacuum. But when the partner eventually recognizes what's occurring, the mirror, the shadow, the projection, they have a choice: to continue chasing or to step back, cease the chase, hold silence of their own internally, and observe. At that moment, the juggler of silence loses the stage. The game's rules shift. The narcissist's silence loses potency once the partner stops playing the reactive role. In a relationship with a narcissist, silence is thus a kind of nonverbal narrative. I refuse you unless you serve me. I will withdraw until you prove your value. The ambiguity of the timing and duration reinforces the manipulation. I might return when I feel like it. You cannot control me. That unpredictability keeps the other on edge, emotionally tuning, seeking re-engagement. What did I do wrong? What will they say when they speak again? The narcissist has successfully shifted attention off their behavior and onto the other's reaction. The silence becomes a mirror of the other's self-worth. Jung would say this is the shadow at work in the relational field: projection, avoidance, repetition. The narcissist's silence is the shadow operation in action. The persona stays impeccable, No words, no fault, no explanation. But beneath the surface, a psychic storm churns. The partner experiences the storm through absence. The narcissist remains above the fray, untouched, unexamined. In many accounts, this manipulation erodes self-esteem, creates isolation, fosters dependence. The partner begins to internalize blame. I must have caused this. I must repair it. The silence of the narcissist thus becomes a mode of cognitive dissonance. You cannot resolve the message because you have no message, but you are asked to respond. You are asked to fix what is unspoken. In so doing, you give up autonomy and step into the narcissist narrative loop. From a Jungian perspective, the healing from this pattern requires you to stop seeking the narcissist narrative and instead return to yourself. The individuation process asks, who am I when I am not being reflected by you? When the silence is not the weapon, but the space of observation, you begin to reclaim yourself. The loudness of your internal voice becomes stronger than the external void. The silence no longer terrifies because you are no longer waiting for the next cue from them. You are listening inward. What does this look like in practice? When the narcissist uses silence, you might notice they cut off communication suddenly. They ignore your calls, texts without explanation or time frame. They alternate between engagement and silence, thereby keeping you insecure. They give a partial attention, then withdraw, then give again. The intermittent reinforcement effect. They behave in public as though nothing happened, or start speaking as if the silence never existed. Why are you upset? They blame you for being too sensitive or overreacting when you reach out. They refuse to discuss their silence. Any attempt to talk about it is deflected, minimized, or ignored. In each of these behaviors, we see the trauma of the narcissist's shadow being enacted outward. Fear of exposure, need for control, avoidance of intimacy. The silence is the facade. Meanwhile, you, on the receiving end, are being asked to fill the void, explain the void, restore the connection. But you cannot, because the silence is not about you. It is about their internal regulation. From the Jungian viewpoint, the partner's path is not to argue, not to chase, not to plead, but to recognize the pattern, hold their boundary, and move inward. You can observe, this is not about me. This is about your unwillingness to engage and face yourself. This is a mirror. I will not clean it for you. You will not use me as your audience anymore. In adopting this awareness, you dismantle the silent weapon's potency. You fail to respond on their terms. You refuse the script. You no longer give them the reward of your reaction. The narcissist's silence becomes a void you are no longer drawn into. The stage is stripped, and in the ruins you find your own sound. Remember, the narrative is not that you must make them speak. The narrative is that you must stop letting their silence speak for you. You must restore your own voice. You must stand in your own presence with or without their echo. And when you do, the silence that once weighed becomes light. The absence of their voice no longer a void, but a space in which you live fully. You might say, but what if they return? What if they speak again? Then the same tests apply. Does their re-engagement bring respect, accountability, empathy, or does the script repeat? If the pattern repeats, the silence comes again. The cycle continues. The difference is you now recognize the pattern. You no longer play the part of the confused chaser. You stand in the center observing. In the end, though the word end is misleading here, the silence is no longer the narcissist's weapon. You reclaim it. You use it as your moment of reflection, your boundary, your cry to yourself. I am not defined by your volume or your quiet. I am defined by the integrity of my own being. The voice inside becomes stronger than the voice withheld. And perhaps that is the deepest lesson from Jung's psychology, that what we fear in silence is the emergence of the self. Silence is not mere absence, it is possibility. Silence can wound, control, or awaken. It depends on who wields it. Through Jung's insight, we've seen how the narcissist's silence masks fear and shadow, while your awareness transforms it into strength. Remember, you are not defined by someone's withdrawal, but by your own voice rising beyond it. If this video helped you see the hidden psychology of silence, give it a like, share it with someone who needs clarity, and subscribe for more deep dives into Jungian and relational psychology. Your healing begins the moment you stop chasing their silence and start listening to your own truth.